it's such an interesting thing to me, because it seems like the journey is to realize there's no journey, that I'm here, that I'm in this particular way and form perfect. And that whole thing of there is no there, it's there here, I am here now, and it sounds exactly like what your work does, is releases the here now into a way that honors all of the nows that have ever been in that person's life.
Yeah, I'd like to say, people sometimes people either really love or hate the way I respond to the question, "How are you doing?" Because I always say perfect in every way,
Right.
and it sounds I'm not delusional. I'm not Mary
Yeah.
Poppins.
Uh-huh.
Um, it's perfect in every way because it is what it is,
Mhm.
and this is the moment where I actually have the only moment where I have some control.
Right.
And I don't have control of much, but I have control of everything I need to
Mhm.
thrive and flourish,
Yep.
even as I face the inevitable challenges, misfortune, and obstacles that come with work with worth doing. I can frame
Mhm.
myself and my situation in a way that is true, objective, and non-judgmental,
Mm.
and I can look at all of the possible choices, and I can
Mm.
decide which one I'm going to do with intention and integrity, and then I can do that, and I will be in motion. I will be in the next here and now, and things will
Mhm.
be perfect in every way again because I
Mhm.
had this opportunity. And
Mhm.
this in part comes from my love of Stoic philosophy, but one of another practitioner of Stoic philosophy, Viktor Frankl, maintained his humanity and maintained his sanity
Mhm.
as he spent 7 years going through 4 different concentration camps, maintained his humanity and exited that situation stronger, more determined and purposeful than
Mhm.
ever to
Mhm.
make the impact in the world that only he could make. So it
What a
takes a lot of discipline and practice, but it is possible to leverage this moment. I'll just one last thing.
Mhm.
We also like to say, "Don't push the river," right?
Mhm.
Going back to our conversation around the divine, I believe
Mhm.
that life, that we all possess the divine spark of life. We all have, we are spiritual creatures with a soul, and our soul's calling, you know,
Mhm.
wants to speak through us. Like life isn't happening to you; it can't speak through you, but it has to speak through your real you.
Mhm.
And destiny is unfolding the way it's going to unfold. We have no
Mhm.
control over that.
Right.
In the fated moment, which is just this is what destiny had in store for you right now,
Mhm.
is your moment to have some influence
Mhm.
by taking control of the things you have control over. You have control of your mind and the way you frame things. You have control over your actions and what you decide to do next.
Well, in the one of the traditions that I learned, sorry about that, some kind
No
of
worries.
reminder. One of the traditions I learned about, because one of my my stories of my life has been, I'm a teacher and a healer, and and I just lost my train of thought completely after saying that. Has that ever happened to you? Uh,
Uh, all day, every
oh,
day.
right. No, I
Teaching
remember.
girl.
I remember. And in that there are, in fact, we are natural creatures, born to natural instincts and to natural phenomenon, in that the way we respond to life has in some really big part to do with the way we respond to our own natural state. Um, and so there's a whole Chinese medicine philosophy based around that. And what I found myself doing is I learned how to do cooking for healing, and how to cook so people would heal from different things. And what I noticed is I would teach a class. It was a really good class. Everybody would really like say, "Yeah, the great class." This, and then a week later, I'd talk to that person, and they'd say, "Oh, you know what? I went back to eating the sugar. And they're cancer patients, so that's not that helpful." Um, and so I heard that over and over and over again, you know. And so I backed away from the kitchen and asked myself, well, what do I know commonly about myself and others who are responding by not doing what would seem to be indicated logically? And that's part of how the AA's missing step came about was um, I sat for 2 months in the Descanso Gardens, which is these gardens by our house, and they have a little stream that passes through, and there's a seat by the stream in the woods where it's pretty much solitary. And I would sit there for 60 straight days with my fountain pen for 4 to 5 hours a day, just writing what came to me about that question. And it changed my life, you know, as anything will do if we give it time, space, you know.
Yeah, that's a beautiful story. It's I think one one thing to highlight and amplify from that story is
Mm,
how important it is to get these things out of our head and
mhm.
at arm's length where we can actually start to do something with them. And the other thing is, like you, I have, you just can't help but see people have a an epiphanal moment of some sort. They change the way that they live. That and then days, months, years later, slip back into the same unhealthy patterns. And
Mm,
there's been a lot of studies with that. I like to think of it as, um, uh, back when cars used to be made of steel, if you got a dent, you could make the dent pull back out, with
yeah, hammered out. Yeah.
the ice cube trick or something. It was because it had a memory of where it had been, and it would go back to where it was.
Wow. Yeah.
And
Mm,
you know, I think for me, the things that have helped, one of the stories I often tell is right around the time, right around age 55 or so, I was, morbidly obese. I 75 pounds heavier than I am now.
mm,
And I, had lost the weight, put it back on multiple times in my life. Always been someone prone to being heavy set. And I just decided I was going to put my shoes on every morning and walk to the top of the driveway and back. And
mm.
what would happen is, that's a 1 minute habit. I couldn't talk myself. I couldn't say I didn't have time because
Right.
I had plenty
Right.
of time.
Yes.
But I would, you get to the top of the driveway. Well, are you really going to turn around and just walk back to the house? I'll walk to the end of the road. I'll walk around
Yeah.
the block. And, what became, what started off as maybe a half mile or walk turned into a 5 mile run over the course of just a matter of months.
Yes.
And I began, entering 5Ks and winning in my age group. And, um, you know, here it is. I was probably 45 at that time. So I'm 58 now. So 20 or 13 years later,
Mhm.
um, I'm,
Mm.
I, I still have my struggles with keeping it under 200, but I know where my limits are. And when I start to creep up to them, I say, okay, I just got to, things are going to change until I get back.
That makes all
And
kinds
so
of sense.
that idea of just, the changes, the profound changes that we need to make are
Mhm.
actually made not through a moment of transformation or an epiphany. They come through a sequential series of very, very small steps that build a habit alongside of the bad habits that we used to practice. And
Mhm.
um,
Mhm.
it almost it almost becomes unconscious that you just start to live this other way of being. And it's
Right.
possible, but it's not what we're programmed for.
There's this idea that if you have 2 points and you travel halfway between the 2 points and then halfway again, that's essentially approximation. So in a sense, for me, that's the way I think of my running, because I'm also a runner. I run the marathon every year these days. And I started off with one block. I could not do one block. And then it was a block and a quarter. And it's so much what you're saying, just put in this. My mantra became, if I put my shoes on, I've got it. Because I have yet to not run if I have my shoes on. And
Yeah, well, that's the thing is you have to make what's the one, like, just all
mm,
you have to do is make one thing. And if you make a promise to someone that you're going to put your running shoes on every morning
right.
before you leave the bedroom,
Hmm.
you've, in the Akimbo workshops when I was a head coach in the creatives and freelancers workshop, at the onboarding meeting, I'd always say, the hardest thing about sitting down to do the work in this workshop is sitting down.
Hmm.
So make a promise right now that
Hmm.
you're going to sit down and type a
Hmm.
comment
Hmm.
before you do anything else.
Hmm.
And if you sit down and type for a minute, the likelihood that you'll type for more minutes is very, very high. If you never sit down, the
Yeah.
likelihood that you'll type any minutes is zero. So begin where you need to begin, which is sit
Yeah.
down.
Yeah. That begin at the beginning, and it's just defining, for me, it's just defining the smallest beginning possible. It's like Godin talks about what you call it, this is marketing, about just making enough to have the business run for a while. Um, and because we all have these, I mean, I can't say we all, I have these ambitions to make a lot of money. And if I live in that ambition, I'm never really going to get to the point where I'm just supporting myself right now,
Yeah.
because it will always be a moving goal and I'll always be halfway there, but never there, you know.
I,
Oh,
oh, go
sorry.
ahead. I was
No.
just going to say that it's that idea is something this I would like to be doing better than I'm doing. I felt that way when I had $20 in my savings account, and I feel that way now when I have way more than $20 in my savings account. And one of the things, I think it's important to have goals that are measurable. Like you should be able to know when a goal's been achieved, and that means you have to have targets and metrics that you can measure. And with things like wealth and influence and that sort of thing, one of the things that I've found has been really helpful is because when I made um, these arbitrary goals around how many followers I had, how much money am I making every month, I
Mhm.
would struggle to maintain my intention and integrity with
Mhm. Mhm.
the way I posted on social media, the way I emailed my list.
Right.
Um, and when I adopted that idea that you're just talking about, of like,
Mhm.
it's okay to, you can, sufficiency and striving are not, they're contradictory, but you can hold them in your head at the same time. You can actually pursue both at the same time.
Right.
And thinking about just reframing, the difference I wanted to make around prosperity instead of profitability
Mhm.
made
Mhm.
it easier for me to always be in integrity and with the intention of serving the people that I
Mhm.
serve.
Mhm.
And miraculously, the profitability that I had been seeking for years just kind of organically happened by taking care of the more important things, which is what's the difference that I'm making, who am
Mhm.
I making that difference with and for,
Mhm.
what can I do today to
Mhm.
help promote and enhance the lives of the people I seek to serve, and
Mhm.
make sure that they know what I have to offer.
Mhm.
So yeah, I just wanted to that leapt to mind as you were talking about that.
What are some places where people can see your work, your books, other things like that?
Everything is at creativeonpurpose.com. Just Google it, and it'll be the first thing that shows up.
I'll,
Currently,
yeah,
the
I was going to put it in as a title on this when we get
okay,
done.
fantastic. Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, there's a blog and a broadcast there that are free resources for people that want to find fulfillment, forge meaning, and make a bigger difference in their life's second act.
Mhm.
And then there's a free quick start guide, the Art of Living quick start guide, which provides you with the process that I shared earlier,
Mhm.
and 12 ways that you can get started today.
Mm.
And then, of course, we have all sorts of premium offerings that you can take advantage of if you want to take a bolder step into possibility.
Right. And for those who, like me, have struggled to work harder and harder and harder, this is an alternative. This is not harder, but more hearted. Hearted. So it's the hearted way of living, which I think is absolutely and solely needed in this conversation we engage in with ourselves daily. You know, so
Yeah.
God bless you for the work you do.
Well, thank you so much, Scott. What a delight to spend this time speaking with you. It's been a privilege.
Back at you. I will. I'll probably. I'll send the copy of this to you via a link so you can approve of it. And then
I,
when I
it's approved. Consider it approved. I don't
okay,
need. I mean, you can send the link if you would like me to share that link, or
yeah, great, yeah,
better would be just when it's when it's available, wherever it's available, let me know,
okay.
and I will share the links on social media. I'm really only on LinkedIn and Facebook, but I'll also share it with my list.
Oh, that would be so helpful. Yeah, because we do complementary work, you and I. It seems like,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
absolutely.
and
Speaking the same language, that's for sure.
yeah, flow in and out of. It's like when you're playing music. There's the music, but there's also the space between the notes. And the space between the notes allow us to choose how to respond to what's already played. And so, in essence, what we're doing is playing between the notes.
Yeah, love it. Just out
Every
of curiosity, what program did you and I collide in? I couldn't place it.
well, actually, we didn't. What happened was I wrote this book and I told a friend of mine who'd written numerous books about it, and she said, "Great, but you need to have a following of between 50 to 100,000 people for this to
Oh,
make any difference." And so I had read Seth Godin's This is Marketing. And when I read something intensely, I outline it and then copy down the outline. So I have like 20 pages of outline from the book. So I decided, well, what do I know works? And what I know works is a mind bigger than my own, involving other people. So I started a group called the 100K Club, and we meet once a week and we talk about how we've been able to serve the people in our area of expertise and how to help each other. And so that's so a big part of that is having read Seth's book and know that you were influenced by that, and having actually come across your daily meditate your not meditations, whatever you call them, the emails that you send out. I found that I was going, yeah, yeah, well, there's that, and oh gosh, there's that too, and there's that. So it's like I was concurring with so much I was reading. I just felt like it was important to reach out and try and do this.
great, great. Well, that's awesome. That makes me feel really good.
Yeah.
Well, thanks very much for this opportunity, and just if I can help you in any way, but I will certainly support the however this gets broadcast whenever it's out there in the world.
Thank you so much. Have a wonderful rest of your weekend.
All right, you too. Take care, Scott.
Take care.